In 1997, a 21-year-old walked onto the most famous golf course in America and did something nobody had ever done before. He won the Masters by 12 strokes, the largest margin of victory in the tournament's history. He was the youngest champion ever to wear the green jacket, and the first player of Black and Asian heritage to win it at all. But behind that record-breaking performance was a story that started decades earlier, in a backyard in California, with a toddler swinging a cut-down golf club before he could even read. This is the story of a prodigy built by relentless discipline, a career that reached heights almost no athlete in any sport has ever touched, and a fall from grace nearly as dramatic as the rise. This is the story of Tiger Woods. Eldrick Taunt Woods was born December 30th, 1975, in Cypress, California, the only child of Earl and Coltita Woods. His father, Earl, was a retired Army lieutenant colonel who had served in Vietnam, a disciplined, demanding man who nicknamed his son Tiger, after a South Vietnamese Army comrade who had once saved his life in combat. His mother, Coltita, originally from Thailand, brought her own quiet, intense discipline into the household, instilling in her son a mental toughness that would define his entire career. Earl introduced his son to golf almost as soon as Tiger could stand. By the age of 2, Tiger was already swinging a cut-down golf club in the family garage, and Earl, astonished by his son's natural coordination and focus, began filming his swing obsessively, convinced from the very beginning that he was raising something extraordinary. At just 2 years old, Tiger appeared on the Mike Douglas television show, putting against comedian Bob Hope in front of a national audience, an almost unbelievable glimpse of the prodigy the world hadn't yet discovered. Earl's training approach was unusually intense for a child so young: structured practice sessions, immense repetition, and a relentless focus on mental discipline alongside physical technique. He would deliberately create distractions during Tiger's practice swings, dropping golf bags, jingling change in his pocket, coughing mid-swing, training his son's concentration to become virtually unbreakable under pressure. It was, by Earl's own description, an intentional effort to build not just a great golfer, but an athlete who could perform under any conditions, at any stage, without flinching. By age 8, Tiger had already won his first Junior World Championship. Golf, for young Tiger Woods, was never simply a hobby. It was the singular focus of an entire childhood, built with an almost military precision by a father who believed, from the very start, that his son was destined for something the sport had never seen before. Growing up, Tiger faced a different kind of pressure than most children his age. Not just the physical demands of the sport, but the added weight of being one of the only black golfers in a country club culture that had, for decades, largely excluded people who looked like him. Early in his career, some clubs still maintained informal barriers to black membership, and Woods would later speak about the complicated symbolism of dominating a sport that had not always welcomed people like his father. Earl often spoke of raising his son not just to be a great golfer, but to be an agent of change for a sport in desperate need of one. Throughout his junior and amateur years, Tiger Woods compiled a resume unlike anything golf had witnessed from a player so young. He won 3 consecutive U.S. junior amateur titles between 1991 and 1993, becoming the only golfer ever to do so, and followed it by winning 3 consecutive U.S. amateur championships from 1994 to 1996, another unprecedented feat. In 1994, Woods enrolled at Stanford University on a golf scholarship, studying economics while continuing to dominate collegiate golf, earning first-team All-American honors and the prestigious Pac-10 Player of the Year award. His time at Stanford gave him something beyond golf trophies, a taste of relative normalcy, teammates and friendships, and space to mature outside his father's intensely structured training regimen. Even as expectations around him only continued to grow, his amateur dominance wasn't just measured in trophies. It was the manner of his victories that turned heads. In several of his U.S. amateur wins, Woods came from significant deficits in the match play final to win, developing a reputation for an almost eerie ability to elevate his game precisely when elimination loomed. Golf writers began referring to this quality simply as closing, and it would go on to define the most dominant stretches of his professional career. By 1996, after winning his third straight U.S. amateur title, it was clear Woods had nothing left to prove at the amateur level. That August, he made the decision that would change the trajectory of professional golf forever. He turned professional, signing endorsement deals with Nike and Titleist worth a combined estimated $40 million before he'd played a single professional tournament. His first press statement as a professional golfer contained a now famous two-word phrase printed across his introductory Nike advertisement. "Hello world." Woods' professional debut season immediately validated the extraordinary hype. He won 2 PGA Tour events within his first 7 starts as a professional, before capping off the year by qualifying for the 1997 Masters tournament at Augusta National, the tournament that would make him a global icon almost overnight. At just 21 years old, Woods delivered a performance unlike anything golf had ever seen. He shot a final score of 18 under par, winning by 12 strokes, the largest margin of victory in Masters history, and became both the youngest champion in the tournament's history and the first golfer of Black and Asian heritage to win it. When he sank his final putt, his father Earl was waiting behind the 18th green, and the two shared an emotional embrace captured in one of the most iconic images in golf history. The victory sent shockwaves through the sport. Woods' combination of raw power, precision, and icy competitive focus was unlike anything golf's traditionally conservative culture had encountered before, and his arrival brought an entirely new, far more diverse audience to a sport that had long struggled to shed its exclusive country club image. Television ratings for golf tournaments Woods played in surged dramatically, a phenomenon that came to be known simply as the Tiger effect. The reaction from golf's old guard was mixed. Some legends of the sport, including Nicklaus himself, publicly praised the performance as potentially the greatest ever witnessed at Augusta. Others, in golf's more traditional circles, were visibly unsettled by the arrival of a young, brash, fist-pumping champion who represented such a stark departure from the sport's reserved, buttoned-up image. Regardless of the reaction, one thing was immediately clear: professional golf would never be quite the same again. Between 1999 and 2002, Woods entered a period of dominance that many golf historians still consider the greatest sustained stretch of excellence the sport has ever produced. He won 10 PGA Tour events in 1999 alone, and in 2000, delivered a season so overwhelming that it redefined expectations for what was possible in professional golf. Winning the U.S. Open by a record-shattering 15 strokes, followed by victories at the Open Championship and the PGA Championship that same year. The 2000 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, in particular, became one of the most talked-about tournaments in golf history, while the rest of the field struggled to break even par on the demanding coastal course. Woods finished 12 strokes under par, a margin so large that it was compared at the time to Secretariat's legendary 31-length Triple Crown victory in horse racing. Fellow professionals openly admitted they were no longer playing against Woods for the win, but simply for second place. Then, in April 2001, Woods completed what became known as the Tiger Slam, becoming the first golfer in history to simultaneously hold all 4 major championship titles at once, having won the U.S. Open, the Open Championship, and the PGA Championship in 2000, before capturing the Masters in April 2001 to complete the unprecedented sweep. It wasn't a calendar year Grand Slam in the traditional sense, but holding all 4 major trophies simultaneously was a feat no golfer, before or since, has matched. His dominance during this period was built on an unusual combination of traits: explosive power off the tee that reshaped how courses were designed and defended, surgical precision with his irons, and perhaps most famously, an almost supernatural composure under pressure during the closing holes of major championships, a mental toughness that traced directly back to his father's unconventional training methods decades earlier. This period also introduced golf fans to Woods' rivalry with Phil Mickelson, a talented left-handed player whose more emotional, crowd-pleasing style stood in stark contrast to Woods' icy, controlled intensity. Though never quite as dominant as Woods during this stretch, Mickelson's continued presence near the top of leaderboards gave golf a compelling storyline throughout the decade, even as Woods remained the sport's undisputed top competitor. Woods continued adding to his major championship total throughout the mid-2000s, but his personal life during this period also began to take shape in ways the public knew little about. In 2004, he married Swedish model Elin Nordegren, and the couple went on to have 2 children together, presenting an image of stability alongside his continued on-course dominance. In May 2006, Woods' father Earl passed away after a long battle with cancer. The loss hit Woods profoundly. This was the man who had built his entire competitive identity from toddlerhood, his most trusted mentor and closest confidant. Remarkably, just weeks after his father's death, Woods won the Open Championship, later admitting through tears that he had struggled to find motivation to even pick up a golf club in the immediate aftermath of his father's passing. By 2008, Woods had won 14 major championships, trailing only Jack Nicklaus's record of 18, and appeared destined to eventually surpass it. That June, playing through what was later revealed to be a fractured leg and torn ACL, Woods won the US Open in a grueling sudden death playoff, widely regarded as one of the most physically courageous performances in golf history. He then underwent major knee surgery and was sidelined for the remainder of the year, an injury that would prove to be an early sign of the physical toll his own aggressive, high-torque swing was beginning to take on his body. Despite the injuries mounting beneath the surface, Woods continued to perform at a level few athletes in any sport could match while playing through significant pain, a pattern of pushing through injury that many observers, in hindsight, believe ultimately shortened the healthiest years of his career. His relentless work ethic, the same trait his father had instilled in him from childhood, had become both his greatest competitive weapon and, increasingly, a serious long-term liability. In November 2009, Woods' carefully constructed public image collapsed almost overnight. Following a strange late-night car accident outside his own home, a series of revelations emerged detailing multiple extramarital affairs, triggering one of the most intense media scandals in modern sports history. Sponsors including Accenture and AT&T dropped him within weeks. He announced an indefinite leave from professional golf, and in August 2010, he and Elin Nordegren finalized a highly publicized divorce. The scandal's cultural impact extended far beyond golf itself, dominating tabloid coverage for months and becoming one of the most extensively covered personal scandals in the history of American sports. Late-night comedians built entire routines around it. Woods, who had spent his entire career carefully controlling his public image, found himself with almost no control over the narrative at all, a jarring, humbling reversal for a man who had, until that point, seemed to command every aspect of his professional life. The personal fallout coincided with and likely contributed to a dramatic decline in his on-course performance. Once the most dominant, mentally unbreakable competitor in golf, Woods began struggling visibly with his swing, his putting, and his composure under pressure, the very qualities that had once made him untouchable. Combined with a series of increasingly serious back and knee injuries, including multiple spinal surgeries between 2014 and 2017, many golf analysts began openly writing that Woods' career, in any meaningful competitive sense, was effectively over. He returned to competitive golf in April 2010 at the Masters, met with a mixture of curiosity, scrutiny, and lingering public skepticism that would follow him for years. Though he remained competitive in flashes, the total command that had defined his prime years never fully returned during this stretch, and by 2015, his world ranking had fallen outside the top 300, a staggering fall for a man who had spent the better part of a decade as the undisputed best player on the planet. In May 2017, Woods was arrested for driving under the influence, later attributing the incident to an unexpected reaction to prescription medication he was taking for chronic back pain. Photos from the arrest, showing a disoriented, disheveled Woods, seemed to many observers like the final chapter of a stunning fall from a man who had once seemed untouchable, both on and off the golf course. What happened next became one of the most remarkable comeback stories in the history of professional sports. After a fourth back surgery, a spinal fusion procedure in April 2017 that even Woods himself later admitted he wasn't certain would allow him to play competitive golf again, he began an intensely disciplined physical rehabilitation, slowly working his way back onto the PGA Tour throughout 2018. By September 2018, Woods won the Tour Championship, his first PGA Tour victory in 5 years, met by a massive, emotional gallery of fans who rushed the fairway in scenes reminiscent of his early 2000s dominance. It was an unmistakable sign that Woods, against nearly every expectation, was finding his way back. Woods later described the years leading up to his comeback as some of the most physically painful of his life, admitting there were stretches where he could barely walk, let alone consider playing professional golf again, and that he seriously questioned whether he would ever be able to simply play with his own children in the backyard, let alone compete on tour. The spinal fusion surgery in 2017 was, by his own account, as much about restoring basic quality of life as it was about any hope of returning to competitive golf. Then, in April 2019, Woods completed what many consider the single greatest comeback in golf history, winning the Masters tournament for the 5th time, 11 years after his previous major championship victory, at age 43, following 4 back surgeries and a very public personal collapse. As he walked up the 18th fairway with the tournament in hand, the roar from the Augusta National Gallery was described by commentators as one of the loudest, most emotional moments the tournament had ever witnessed. His teenage son, Charlie, was waiting behind the green to embrace him, a deliberate, powerful echo of the same embrace Woods had shared with his own father, Earl, in that same spot, 22 years earlier. The 2019 Masters victory resonated so deeply, in part, because so few inside or outside the sport genuinely believed it was still possible. Veteran broadcasters who had called his dominant early 2000s victories found themselves emotional on air, describing the win not simply as a golf achievement, but as one of the most remarkable physical and psychological comebacks in the history of American sports. In February 2021, tragedy struck again. Woods was involved in a serious single-car accident in Southern California, rolling his vehicle down an embankment and suffering severe, potentially life-threatening leg injuries, including open fractures that required emergency surgery. Doctors initially raised the possibility that amputation might be necessary. For a second time in his career, it appeared Woods' playing days might genuinely be finished. This time, not by a swing flaw or personal scandal, but by a catastrophic physical injury that threatened far more than his golf career. The accident reignited public sympathy for Woods in a way the 2009 scandal never had. This time, there was no question of personal failing, simply the reality of a man who had already overcome so much, now facing a genuine fight to walk normally again, let alone ever swing a golf club competitively. Fellow professionals, fans, and even longtime critics expressed a shared, unified concern for his recovery that transcended golf entirely. Once again, Woods began an arduous physical recovery, and once again, he defied expectations, making an emotional return to competitive golf at the 2022 Masters, walking the course on a surgically reconstructed leg despite visible pain with every step. He would not contend for the title, but simply completing all 4 rounds was, by nearly universal agreement among golf commentators, an achievement as remarkable in its own way as any of his championship victories. Tiger Woods' career statistics remain almost unmatched in the history of golf. 15 major championships, second only to Jack Nicklaus's 18, and 82 PGA Tour victories, tied for the most in tour history. But his impact on the sport extends far beyond any individual number. He transformed golf's audience, its television ratings, its prize money, and its cultural relevance, drawing in millions of viewers and players who had never previously considered the sport, particularly across communities of color who had long been underrepresented in golf's traditionally exclusive culture. His story is also unmistakably a story of extremes, a childhood built with almost singular purpose toward greatness, a run of dominance that redefined what was believed possible in his sport, a very public personal collapse that nearly ended his career entirely, and 2 separate physical catastrophes that would have ended most careers outright, met each time with a comeback that few believed was even possible. In 2019, following his Masters victory, President Donald Trump awarded Woods the Presidential Medal of Freedom, recognizing both his athletic accomplishments and his charitable work through the TGR Foundation, which he founded to expand access to education and golf for underprivileged youth. Woods' influence on the next generation of golfers has been just as significant as his playing record. Players who grew up watching him dominate in the early 2000s, many of them players of color, who might never have picked up a golf club without his example, went on to reshape the sport's demographics at every level, from junior programs to the professional tour. The Tiger effect on television ratings, prize money, and youth participation in golf is still cited by sports economists as one of the most measurable single-athlete impacts on any sport's growth in modern history. He was the toddler swinging a club before he could read, shaped by a father's relentless belief and an unconventional method built to forge unbreakable focus. He became, by nearly every measure golf has ever used, the greatest the sport has produced. And in falling, and rising, and falling, and rising again, he also became proof that even the most singular greatness is never entirely immune to the weight of being human.